This video is going to show you a solo Grandmaster Nightfall getting platinum rank on the Proving Grounds. For those who just want to see that run, then skip to timestamps you have available to you. Other than that, I'm going to show you the mods, the weapons, and the build I used. This is just going to be a quick overview of everything, but there'll be more detailed information in the run itself. Okay, this is the final solo GM to do, as I'd sold the rest of them already. I may have put them in a playlist. So, I mean, I did upload originally a team run for Proving Grounds because I felt that would be more useful for people on the first day reset what have you. But obviously, people still want to know how to solo it, so this is why I'm doing a solo on it as well. But it was the final one, so I've soloed every one this season. Pretty happy with it because I generally don't commit to the games as much. But I did this season because it's more popular to do. So the build that I used was Nightstalker top tree, Vortex Grenade, Marksman Dodge. That's where the trapper. We paired that with the exotic chestplate, the 6 Coyote, which gives us double dodge. And we also need 100% ability. T9, T8, T7 will not work for this. You must go 1% ability if you're going to go top tree Nightstalker, because it's less invisibility overall as opposed to bottom tree. However, there's massive gains to be going on top tree as opposed to bottom tree, which I'll explain in the run. The weapon wise, we used a Braytech Werewolf kinetic auto, Jotunn exotic fusion rifle, and threaded needle, which is a void linear fusion. The main aspects to these weapons is that you need to get the highest range stat auto rifle that you have on you, from your vault, your characters, whatever it is. The higher your range stat, the better the kinetic auto is going to do against champions. If you've got one with Vorpal weapon like this one, ricochet rounds for extra range, major spec, always put major spec in your rifle, but if you have a Vorpal one that's a 450 RPM or less, this auto rifle will do a lot of work for you for ads, taking down champions from like 30 meter ranges, solo on a GM. Chroma Rush isn't going to do that for you, okay? So the higher the arc, the lower the rate of fire on an auto rifle, generally the better it is for solo GMs. It's end of discussion. Chroma Rush is no good. I don't know why people are trying to do it with Chroma Rush. That's like an ad clear weapon for middle game content. It's not built for end game. Okay, so 450s and false promises. If you've got a god roll one of those, use it. As I said, it's one of the best autos in the game. Nothing to do with Jotunn, just slap that on. Obviously make it 30-30. And then the threaded needle. Any linear fusion that you have with Vorpal weapon and put a major spec on will make your life a hell of a lot easier. Over, if you run Corsus Wrath or Tarantula, you're going to struggle a bit more. A skilled player will get away with using Tarantula, but overall the Vorpal weapon linear is better. The best thing to choose. So you've got two options, threaded needle or rage regret. Pick one, but one with Vorpal weapon. Okay, it's just going to make your life easier. Mods, we use protective light on the helmet, taking charge on the chest plate, and shield break charge on the cape. So it's a protective light build. We've got special finisher on the cape as well, so when we get a finished kill, we generate special ammo. Powerful friends and ammo scavengers on the boots. That will help us attain the 1% ability. Solar damage resistance, concussive dampener to negate all the solar that's in this strike, which is a lot of it. Concussive dampener helps against splash damage. Unstoppable fusion rifle, anti-barrier auto on the gauntlets, and ammo finders on the helmet. That was the setup I used on the Hunter. So as we start the run, we want to push up to these ads in Sentinel and start taking them out. I know and I'm aware that you can skip them and all that stuff, but it's just more consistent for your ammo in the longer run, rather than just skipping all these ads and things like that. It's more consistent if you just take them all out and just work your way up the hill, rather than trying to sort of save time by going to the left, taking out all the turrets, then using the cover where the rock is. I don't do that strat. As I've done a lot of practice in this GM, like not a lot, but this week I've actually took encounters from different approaches to see what works best, and I found that this works the best, especially with this build, because we're relying on a lot of super energy. We're looking to spam Jotunn. Okay, so the build is that you're basically not using your super, right? You're just spamming the fusion. Now, it's really good for key targets. It's okay on ads. It's not as good as some, like Telesto one-shots a red bar, I believe, on GM. Jotunn doesn't. It leaves them just one shot. But it's just so good on match game shields. You'll see here, 2 shots. 2 shots takes down that match, that arc match game shield. We don't mind spending the ammo because the build allows for it. Because of the special finisher, because there's that many adds in this, strike. As I said, it's beneficial to sort of use a weapon like this. Also, you can take advantage of particle deconstruction, as you can sort of get more than 1 stack. I don't know if you get max stacks. I think you do, because the solar, so I believe, the solar lingering damage that Jotunn leaves counts as stacks of particle deconstruction. It must stack to 5 because later on you need to solar 1 phase unstoppable champs in 1 stun, which I do end up doing that with the Jotunn and the threaded needle, so I'm pretty certain it does. It may take longer to kick in. I haven't tested like numbers. Okay, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm more practical. I do like numbers and things, you know, doing those types of videos, but if somebody's just practicing in a lost sector, it's no good. It's no use to me because I don't do the lost sectors. I only do the lost sectors when they release a new exotic. I'll go and do the lost sectors, or when you're leveling up, things like that. But mid-game season stuff, I'm not playing any lost sectors, not even master ones, unless I'm farming for a role, which is rare. I get a lot from Nightfalls. So we're just working up the hill, as I said. The unstoppable's pretty easy to take out because the unstoppable is preoccupied with a lot of the adds on the hill. There's one more Vex Harpy to take. That's actually, as I said, it isn't too bad to take. We've got a finisher on the champ, special finisher, so we can have a healthy amount of Jotunn at all times, essentially. This starting section isn't too bad. We were trying to get the finisher icon on the Vex Harpy. It wasn't coming up for some reason. But there's plenty of opportunities for more ammo. Not only that, on top of your special finishers, you're getting standard bricks anyways, because you've got the ammo finder on for fusions. So I've got fusion ammo finder and linear fusion. They're 2 separate mods. The Scavenger mod is different though. That has 2 weapons built in, the fusion and the linear. So we're standing on this rock here. We got some of the Scorpius turrets. There's 3 at the back. There was 1 to my right and then 1 to my left. Took all those out with the fusion. And what I'm trying to do here is take out what adds are up, because what it is, this hill area works on distance. So when you push up a little bit, you get extra cabal. You push up a little bit more, you get extra cabal. We don't want that because the barriers are a nuisance to us. The barriers are the most difficult champs in this, not unstoppables so much. You can control the unstoppables, but the barriers, there's a bit more RNG to them. But you can control them in some degrees, and it's based on how many adds are up, which I'll get more into. But on this particular phase, we're not pushing up too far, no further than where we are. We'll do 2 Jotunn shots to prime the barrier. When I say prime, I mean get him so that he does his first shield. We'll reload our auto. That's so important that you reload your auto via your dodge. Then we use some threaded needle because we've got the stacks prior with Jotunn, and then we finish off with Jotunn. If you saw the shield break, I mean, I was at a hefty range there, and Werewolf took it down no problem because it's an absolute god roll. I kept this actually from not this year's, but the season before, the year before. Always keep all the weapons, god roll weapons that aren't even useful in that season, because they may come back around another season to give you a hand, like things like osmosis or Vorpal autos or god roll pulses, sidearms, SMGs, you name it. Have every sort of weapon you can imagine of in your vault for future seasons. It's just how we've got to play, because Bungie wants to make us use scouts one season, SMGs the next. So they're saying about vault space, 500 vault space, it's not enough, because you need a god roll of every archetype of weapon possible to be efficient at solo play. So it's ridiculous. The vault space needs to go up. And I know people say, well, you need to delete stuff. Well, no, because I kept an auto rifle for a year, over a year, and it's become so useful for this GM, which was 18 months afterwards. So you can see what I'm talking about, right? So that's a topic for another video. When we push up so far, we get another spawn of Cabal and the Unstoppable. The Unstoppable is the trigger. If you kill the Unstoppable, the boss will spawn in. We don't want that just yet. You can actually just clear out all the Cabal that have spawned in, like the mobs. you can kill all those, then kill the unstoppable last. At the same time, we're managing our special finishes, right? I'm thinking about that because I've got a lot of super energy. I want to get some finisher kills, so that's what I'm doing, right? Because if you optimize here, it's easier to take the boss because you can just spam special ammo, you can spam heavy and things like that. You just need to do a little optimization. That's what I'm doing right now. If you're going to go in for a finisher, because we're on 6 Coyote, you need to have 2 dodges for that. So 1 dodge to approach the target if there's adds around him. Get the finisher, then immediately dodge. Right, you'll see me do this a lot, especially in the tank room. You need to have the 2 dodge, because if you have 1 dodge, you get to the target safely. That's fine. You finisher him. The finisher takes you out of invisibility, and then you can get melted. So you need to be wise about it. You need to know where the cover is, things like that. I pushed a little bit too hard here, Protective Light saved us. Okay, I'm happy now. I get my finisher kills. Just need to take this unstoppable, and that'll spawn in the boss. The boss will also have an unstoppable. There'll be no more barriers in this location, which is a good thing. You can jump over unstoppables' heads like that. Sometimes it's the best thing, if you get the time right, just jump over the heads. Because if you just run away, they're just going to chase you. Obviously you're in invis though, so it doesn't matter so much. We're going to spam some Jotunn on the boss, just prime him before all these adds come. So this boss, he has 2 different attacks, right? And it's so important to know how it works. So he has the arc, blind and rocket thing that he does, right? That slows you and all that stuff. And then he has his enrage mode, we'll call it, just for sake, because you can take advantage of that. So basically, this champion has this ultra has here apparent. That's what they're using. The exotic machine gun that we all use, right, in PvP and things. That's what they're using. When he goes in that enrage mechanic, he just keeps laning you, right? But he will forget your last position. You're going to see that shortly, but I'm just dealing with these adds. Obviously the unstoppable as well. With your anti-barrier auto, it will actually shoot through phalanxes. So when they put the shield up, you can creep behind their shield because of anti-barrier rounds, right? It's one of the perks. Like they all have the anti-barrier, unstoppable, overload. They all work on adds in their own little ways. But anti-barrier, as I say, it shoots through certain things like hobgoblins and things like that. But any phalanxes, you really need to optimize using your auto. We'll get this unstoppable stunned. We're looking to finish him. As I said, you wait for 2 dodges. You do your initial dodge, finish your kill, and then dodge again. Well, I didn't need to, but generally you should do it. When you dodge on top tree, this will allow the arc seekers to not hit you. On bottom tree, they will still track you. On top tree, they won't. This is another reason why I went top tree. So if you're standing right close to him, just dodge if he does his attack. Unless you've got cover like so. Like if you've got cover, that's also fine. This allows us to play aggressive. It means we can sort of push him. I like to play around this box, to be honest. Usually I wouldn't spend this much ammo in a GM, but as I said, because I'm running special finisher, it allows me to sort of do it. It allows me to play like that. When this ultra gets to half health, there will be a wave of Cabal adds and 1 more unstoppable out the door to your left. If you can spawn kill them, then do it. Now that's what I'm doing now, so I'm going to prime this ultra to get him to half HP when he goes immune over here, so that way I can do my smoke, a nade, should have naded as well, didn't quite have it, I do now, and then just spam Jotunn. It will take out pretty much all the adds. Like if I would have been a little bit more efficient, I could have done, and I get a stun because the solo lingering damage lingered onto the unstoppable, right? That just shows you the utility. Telesto has some similar effects where the individual bolts have been classed as unstoppable. And we can just take the rest of the adds. Same again, we want to get a special finisher on this unstoppable. But I'm just getting some reloads first. We get the stun, and then we can get our finisher kill. So now you can see the boss is enraged. He's enraged on my last location. This AR, the AR of this boss isn't smart enough to know where you are at all times. So I'm waiting on my second dodge. This is what I'm doing. Right, we'll do another dodge, and then this is where we're going to use positioning to our advantage. He still doesn't know where he is because of how good top 3 invis is. Eventually he will recognise. If he does this though, where he starts doing his arc rockets, it's no good. You need to come out. Sometimes he'll just be enraged on the fuse. He'll just shoot the fuse with his minigun, and you can just take down the minigun. No problem. Don't let him stomp you. Don't stand in the rockets, whatever you do, unless you got cover, because they can pretty much kill you at that point. So you need to be careful with this part. You can use Skyburner's off, the exotic scout rifle, to shoot through this shield. The only problem with Skyburner's off is you would have to use Skyburner's off, kinetic arc rifle, and a linear. That loadout wouldn't be that good. It wouldn't be good for the boss fight. It would be good for taking the shield, fair enough, but for everything else, it's not good enough on GM. On Master, it's fine. I don't know on Master with it, but for GM, it's no good. We're spamming ammo here because I've got plenty of ammo on the floor. That's why I've used it. It just speeds up this section a little bit, and that's that encounter dealt with. Also, when you started this. When you start the GM itself, you killed all those goblins, the harpies, and all the cabal. There'll be ammo still lying down there. So if you still are missing maybe a bit of special or a bit of heavy, go back down there and search just before you go to the next encounter. Because going to the tank room with subpar ammo isn't good. You can get away with having less special, but heavy, you need to sort of have plenty of heavy. So don't spam your heavy, because heavy isn't unlimited. Special's unlimited almost for us, because of our setup, but heavy isn't. So I'll use heavy at critical moments, pinnacle moments, when it's absolutely necessary to do it, to either avoid wiping or to sort of optimize, to really optimize. Whereas if I'm spamming my linear and there's just one champ around and there's no other adds, I'm really not using my ammo smart enough. Unless there's plenty of heavy in the room so that I can pick it up and then go to the next room and I've still got full, that's fine to do that. So you really need to make decision making before you leave a room. Is it okay to spam heavy? If the answer is no, just spam Jotunn. Because you, as I said, with this build you can sort of really spam it. We're going to skip past these ads because our ammo is full. They give us no benefit. Come to the door, it opens, and then we're on to the tank room. So the tank room is going to be really difficult for people. This is probably the most difficult encounter in any GM, period. Right? It's just there's a lot of RNG to it, especially if things go wrong, because one thing can lead to another thing and lead to another thing. Champions can be out of place. They jump left and right, especially on phase 2. This is phase 1. There's 2 phases. On this little section here, you want to take out the 2 phalanxes if you can. Use your Jotunn if possible, because the phalanxes are annoying. Right, so if you can get those, that's good. Then you'll see, this is the next thing you want to do, is look for shields. There's RNG, okay. So you get 2 VIP targets. The VIP targets can be as follows. 1 solar shield, 1 void shield. That can be one outcome. Another outcome can be 2 solar shields. That can be one outcome. Another outcome could be 1 solar shield, 1 arc shield, or you could have 1 solar shield and 1 Scion Ultra. That's a lot of outcomes. The void shield seems to be the least one you get. The arc shield is common though. If you get an arc shield, you're going to have to use Jotunn to take down the arc shield, which will take 2 shots. It should take it down in 2 shots. Ideally, you want 2 solar shields, because Jotunn will blind those enemies. This is the thing, it's got shield disorient, has Jotunn. And the VIP targets in this room, if you get 2 solar shields, can be usually hard work. But with Jotunn, it makes them easy because they're blinded, right? So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the 2 vehicles. Well, there's 3 vehicles in this room. There's left and right, and there's one at the back of the room. The one at the back of the room will stay there. The left one will stay there, and the right one will stay right. Okay, obviously. But this is where the AUG rifle comes in. It's got Vorpal weapon. This is what I was saying. A kinetic AUG rifle with Vorpal will help out. What we want to do is take these vehicles out from up here. Okay, so this is the order you do things in. Take the initial adds, the phalanxes, then the vehicles, then you would jump down and take out the 2 snipers, because there's a sniper left and right on the perch. You must take them, obviously, but we're not taking them out of order, because if you do it out of order, out of sequence, these vehicles will start shooting up to this up to where I'm standing now, and they can actually hit you from up here and potentially kill you. So don't aggro them is what I'm saying. They are idle. Leave them idle and just shoot them from up here. As you can see, it's a little difficult to shoot them, and it is a time thing where it's going to take you longer, but I'm sure you're not here for a speed run, because this run is super long, and I'm not too fussed that it is long. I couldn't care less, because I'll get this run done and I'm done on this, right? And then we'll see what next week has to offer with Destiny. I don't know. So yeah, we'll just keep shooting. As you can see, any side you can see is beneficial. This assault rifle, it's going to take ages. I'm not going to lie, because you know it's not a scout. It's not designed like that. But I would say it's over 10 mags for each vehicle, I'm afraid. And that's even worse because how far away you are from them. If you were closer to them, which we can get closer to them, and you can kill them quicker, but you're going to increase threat. Legionaries can push you, they can grenade you. The middle Centurions, the solar ones, can hit you with massive damage. They get you one shot off one attack. They do void, I believe, but one attack. What it is, it's buffed by splash damage. Their attack is classed as splash. So is the vehicles. The vehicles are classed as splash damage. So if they hit you, that is a one shot. There's nothing to stop. You can't even do double solar resist. A direct hit off a vehicle, that's why we're taking them up here. They will one shot you. A tank, direct hits will hit you, will one shot you. But a shot that's off target won't. It'll get you weak though. It depends on the distance. Right, now we're going to go for an invis. We'll get the first sniper, then we'll run to the left and another invis. Time your invis it's very important, because you haven't got as much invis. Get the 2 snipers. The solar shield jumped in the air. That's fine, we blind him. But the second one pushes, which I did not account for, so we blind him as well. Try not to overcommit to damage, which I did. And we want to stay sort of behind his blast shield. You can do the exactly same thing on the right side. Left and right are pretty much identical, but the blast shield is what you want to be behind. The key thing is not to aggro these anti-barrier champions in middle. Those are where you're going to get your wipes, because one sort of blast attack off there, which is arc, it's buffed by by the splash damage is increased. Everything in this room is pretty much splash damage, apart from the legionaries, but even then their grenades are classed as splash. So it's one of those things, but you won't get one shot by a nade because you've got solar resist on, so that is one good thing about it. So what I do is I map rotate between left and right. You'll get an extra spawn of legionaries once so many legionaries are killed. So there's like sort of 2 independent spawns of legionaries going on, and you will also get dogs. I'm trying to remember how the dog spawn works, but I sort of know it more by the timing of it, and I also know by audio cues, right? So I have my SFX volume. So there's 3 volumes for Destiny. There's dialogue, music, SFX. Music and dialogue are just, you know, speech and the music. Get all that stuff out of there. You don't want it. SFX is your guns, enemy grunts, audio cues. I know Destiny's notoriously bad for audio cues, but there is a couple. Like for, you know, enemy factions and things, they have certain noises, and when ads spawn, there'll be a noise to tell you that. Now you might miss it if there's the music on full blast. Just depends on the volume. But doing it like this has helped. Ever since I changed this, which a friend of mine had told me about it, like last year or so. Ever since I've done that little change, I've found in GM solos it's helped me. Even though it's one little change, it's massively helped. Because chaff is on, like no radar, you sort of can be sitting in the dark depending on what GM you're doing. So that's one little tip, but it does make all the difference. A barrier can sometimes push. If they do, take gift of it. because it's when it happens, it's good, right? Because you've separated the champions. Well, they've separated themselves. So whenever that happens, make the best of it, and you need to melt down. This is a time when you melt them down with your linear, okay? At all costs, because don't play around with the champ, because what might happen is the champ might de-aggro eventually when he gets to half HP, which some champions do that. So don't mess about with a champion if they do push like that, because it's actually the game gifting you. So we get dogs, so the dog must be linked to one of the champions dying then, or it's time, I'm not 100%. Just be aware of dogs. They spawn from the middle doors left and right. There's like there's doors all over the place, but they spawn from, like, as I said, just below the perch. Just below where the perches are. The game will also show you where the VIP targets are by the objective markers, which is a benefit to us because of chaff. So that's actually kind of good. So I know that there's one solar shield still alive. I know that there's one vehicle. Now it won't highlight the champions because they're not classed as VIPs. They are, but they're not for the basis of this strike. So I know the solar shield is in middle under the bridge, which, by the way, is never a place to fight. Never fight under that bridge unless you've got maybe one champion alive, because it's a death trap under there, really. The wave of dogs is done, by the way. There's only one wave of dogs for each phase, 2 phases, so you get 2 waves of dogs in total. This VIP was sort of, he didn't know what to do, so I pushed and got him, but I was actually lucky there because the vehicle behind us shot us, so I actually made a mistake, and what I should have done was take down the vehicle first before you push up sort of where that bridge area is. You sort of need to take down the last vehicle, which we use Jotunn for. As with your auto rifle, it's going to take a long time just to sort of actually take him out. So even if it means you're wasting pretty much all your ammo, because this is pretty much done for me. It's a done deal, this phase 1. Once you get the VIP targets down, the dogs and all that stuff, and at least one of the barriers, because when 2 barriers together they're pretty deadly, but if it's just one, the barrier will roam around. He won't know what to do or where to stand, which means we can get him to stand where we want, which is an ideal situation. Now, there is 2 exceptional places to stand for phase 2. This is phase 1, but for phase 2. Phase 2 is where people are going to wipe. They're going to probably be able to do phase 1, but phase 2 is going to be like, man, where do you stand? What do you do? And I was kind of like that because I hadn't sold the original Proven Grounds. I hadn't even tried at the time during that season. I wasn't like sort of playing a lot. So I was learning this week myself on where to stand. There's a place on the right hand side to stand, but it's a little RNG because the tanks have 2 different attacks. They have the normal blast attack where they home on you, and then they have your seekers. They do their seekers when you're close to them. The only problem is I haven't figured out the actual triggers on these tanks properly, right? It's sort of, I've been killed by a tank, he's done his seeker for no reason, there's a tank sitting idle, and he just randomly does his seeker and I'm in cover. So I don't know. We'll get a special finisher kill here on the Cabal, but anyways, I'm going to talk about the position that I end up taking. It's not on the right hand side if you know where that is, because on right hand side there's sort of a sweet spot to deal with the tanks, but as I said, there is a little RNG with it in terms of maybe dying. I found a way better place than that, and I've seen nobody talk about it. But what we're doing now is we're exploring all the barrels, because you may have to do some free roaming. On my strat, it's safe, but it's safe for so long. Like, it's super safe, but when it goes bad, you need to get out of there. You're going to see where I will be. But we're just exploring all the barrels, because all the barrels, if you get shot near a barrel, it could kill you, because splash damage is increased. Make sure you fill up on heavy, which, if you're playing like me, you should pretty much have max heavy, because I barely used heavy, only really on the champion. I didn't use heavy on anything else. So you should have max heavy. But make sure you do before you go to the place I'm going to go to. We're going to take the barrier from the left-hand side. This is where the RNG will come in with champs. See, where he's pushing up to the left, he doesn't know what to do. Let him come back to middle. You want to fight the champion from the left hand side where the barrier shields are, because this will put you in prime position for where I'm going to stand. It's important you do this because it means the ads won't know exactly where you are first, which is so key. Because if you aggro the ads the slightest as they spawn on phase 2, they know where you are, you get melted. Whereas if you just do a little bit of optimization, they're sort of confused. I'm not going to use any heavy, I don't believe I do, just special. The key when you're taking barriers from range like this is do a strafe. When the shield's about 80% taken, strafe a little bit, keep firing, and then strafe out again, and you won't get hit. Okay, so doing invis as soon as that door to the left opens up, you might need to re-watch that because it's very subtle, but once you learn it, and then just stand in this little section here. Take down the sniper above you, and then just wait. The tanks will sit idle, they won't know what to do with you. The only problem is if you get a solo VIP like I did, he will track you. He became a problem for me, which I ended up moving, you'll see. It just depends, you might get a void VIP, which that would be ideal, but the RNG of that is quite high, so I'm not going to suggest it. It's just, if things go bad, you need to come out of this place. But here you can see the tank legs. So your goal is to break at least one of the tank legs. That will mean so much for you. Just doing at least even one break on a tank, it is huge. There's a VIP target pushed, so we'll blind him. I was hoping I could have killed him, I could have stayed here longer, but now the VIP knows where we are, so it's kind of bad. I'm getting hit a lot, protective light kicks in, I do my invis, I'm out. So whatever place you're standing, if you're not using that place, you might think it's not that good, but I swear it is actually pretty good than what it looks. Whatever you're doing, if you end up getting exposed and you've got to move for whatever reason, you're going to have to be on free roam move. Now you're going to have to be on the free roam strat. This is where you're going to have to do map rotation. I'm kind of glad I've done it this way as well, so you can see. But the idea is that you rotate on the outsides, on the outskirts. We're using top tree Nightstalker, not bottom, which means our invis will naturally come back. We don't need to be doing dodges next to ads. That's why I went top tree as well. That was another reason. Because with bottom tree, you're going to have to go through middle. It's dangerous. A tank could hit you. So much can happen. This is just safer. So all we're doing is rotating from left to right and breaking legs when we can. Right. So if we can get this tank on this phase, that would be brilliant, which we do. So that's one tank taken out. The room is less dangerous. And as soon as you take down the second tank, oh man, then the room's easy. Once you take down the two tanks, you're good. It's just having to do this. So that's where your protective light comes in and map rotation. The barriers will be RNG, like you've never seen it. They will go to places you've never seen because the tank's up. The barrier champ's AI changes depending on what vehicles are up. So if tanks are alive, the champions will chase you down. If the tanks are dead, they will congregate to the back of the map, which is what you want. So don't overcommit to damage. That's the key. Don't over dodge as well. Only dodge when it's absolutely critical, because you haven't got the, the invisibility that bottom tree provides for like the length of it. We'll get a stun here, particle deconstruction, but that wasn't good enough to push from. So then we rotate again. You just keep doing this game of rotation. This is how you would do it if you weren't playing invis. This would be the no invis strat, where you would just sort of map rotate. Which the safest place, I guess, would be at the very back, just going left to right, and then stop them for maybe 2 seconds, do some linear shots, and then move on, like that. Get particle deconstruction with Jotunn. Tank is a third. He did hit us, but it hit the blast shield, and we took some splash damage. You saw there I was half HP. So as soon as that happens, I rotate. I don't overcommit. Okay, the run's long anyways. I'm not solo speed running this, and I wouldn't want to. So for reasons like this, there's too much RNG to it. A clear is good enough. We get the tank down, that's fine. Once you do that, you're good. All the ads will de-aggro you, which means they will back off to the back of the map, and you're fine. You can then recalculate, look at ammo on the floor, look at all the situation. You have full super as well, so you can get some special finishes knocked in, which I believe I do. end up doing. Also, there's dogs, so there's another dog phase. Now, the dogs are actually really good on phase 2 because chances are you're low on ammo, right? When the dogs come out, they're ideal to do a special finisher on because the dogs will aggro you away from the ads. Also, if you didn't take out the 2 snipers, they will de-aggro off the perch and then into middle. So just be careful. There could be a sniper sitting in the middle if you didn't take the original snipers. Another thing to know, if you stand on the perches, on the top bit where the snipers were, if you stand on there, you get orange bar phalanxes. So don't stand on there. I think it's like 5 seconds and it triggers phalanxes. I don't know if people know that. It's kind of like Savathun's song. If you stood in the middle platform, you would get cursed for all. It's the same mechanic, which is interesting they've done that. That might be a mechanic to let us get ammo. Because they're obviously going to drop us ammo. So that's actually kind of something you could take advantage of. Say there's only one champ left and you run out of ammo. Stand on one of the perches. Spawn in the orange bar phalanxes and then kill them for ammo. Or finish them. So these are the dogs. We aggro them. We let them aggro us. I'm going to try and kill all the dogs apart from one. I could have optimised that a little bit better and, you know, finished each one, but it would be just a bit too much because the dogs, 3-4 bites off them, you're dead. So, you know, it's safe, but don't make it unsafe by trying to, you know, fully optimise every finisher kill. You know, just one's fine enough, right? So now what we're trying to do is take out all the legionaries because they're going to get in the way. When we're trying to take out the 2 barriers, they're just going to nade us because of Scorched Earth. So what we do is we eliminate all the legionaries, the phalanxes, the snipers, any VIP targets left. You take out all them, so there's only 2 barriers left. That's it. Then you can then separate those 2 barriers, take one out, and then that's the room complete. As I said, this bit's easy. It's just when the tanks are alive. If you can master the map rotate and just running, like all I'm doing is running, and it's nothing special. It's not like I'm avoiding the fire. I'm just running from left to right, left to right. Obviously in vision when needed. So we're just checking what's left alive. I don't think there is anything else. A barrier pushes to the left, so this is where we can isolate. 2 Jotunns primes a barrier. Get a shield break. We've got cover, this blast shield's our cover, so we can strafe behind it, and then we're just going to melt. The reason why we melt is simple, because that's the most dangerous time with these champs, when there's 2 of them, because the other champ can do his blast attack while you're fighting him. When you get down to 1 barrier, it's fine. You've pretty much done. You should not be wiping to 1 barrier. If you do, it's because of your positioning. Make sure you strafe shoot the barriers. So I've just mentioned it before, I'll mention again. When the shield gets to around 67%, do a little strafe behind cover, don't stop firing, and then just peek out again, and that should be the shield taken out. Providing you're using a good kinetic auto. As I said, False Promises is probably going to be the go-to for people, which is a well drop. I think you can get it now. I think it gets sold as well by the gunsmith at times. You can get it from engrams. It's a well drop, I believe. You can even farm it from umbrals for the other season of the... Is it Arrivals? I believe it was Arrivals. Or just pull a Braytech Werewolf from the collections. It's not a good roll because it's got multi-kill clip. Multi-kill clip's worthless to you really in GM, to be honest. Like, you know, you want Vorpal, you really do, but again, if you want to do the collections roll, it will still do the job because its range is really good. Slap a major spec on it and you should be able to still break shields from, like I say, 30 meter range, no problem. We skip those ads up top there because we don't need them. We're full on special, heavy, you know, we're fine. So this is where let's say the fuse, where you put the fuses in, right? You get an unstoppable here. So think of it as 2 wings, right? So this is the right side, and then there's a middle compartment where you put the fuses, and then the left hand side. The right hand side, where I'm on now, has unstoppable. On the left hand side, it's a barrier. This side's easy to deal with, okay? I'm not going to lie. The unstoppable will push you, as I said. We're spamming ammo really here, to be honest. So we can get a special finisher. Obviously, you know, working out when you're doing your special finisher is really key to do that. So this is what I posted a video about earlier. The pebbles or the rocks, right? The debris, let's call it. Any little bit of debris can hit you and kill you one shot. It does not matter about the size of the rock. It doesn't matter, right? You can see it all flying around now, you know, tinging around. That can one shot you. Now there is no pattern, and there's nothing I can see in game. There's nothing. The only one little thing that I have to go off is there is a slight audio cue where there's a lot of tings. Where there's sometimes it goes through phases. As I said, if you knock your music volume off, you would know all this. If you just actually sit there and listen at the doorway, it'll go through phases of being a lot of tings and then there's none. So what I would suggest is push up in the room when you hear the last ting. When you hear the last rock sort of hit somewhere, then push up. If you can visually see lots of rocks going around, don't push. Be slow about it. That's the only thing you can go off. But other than that, it's complete RNG. So if a rock kills you in this room, I don't know what to say to you. It's happened to me. It's a silly mechanic. I don't know why they've got it in here. Like, for example, let's just take Corrupted. Corrupted has a lot of big rocks coming left and right. If you die to that, that's because you messed your jump up. That's fine, right? So you're having to observe a mechanic, wait, and then jump. In here, you're not observing anything really. You're just going on a whim. You're going on a whim and just saying, oh, I should be fine, and then you die. I actually tethered here. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but I sort of did because I wanted to get out of this room as quickly as possible because the rocks behind us may one-shot us. I was unsure, so I just tethered it, used Jotunn, because all the damage is shared to all the enemies. Right, because I wanted to get in this room as quickly as possible. We kill one of the Scorpius tanks. There's two. We do an invis first before you go in the room, right? And then kill the second Scorpius. Now you're safe. In this room you can't die to any rocks, okay? You're safe. That's why I was rushing to get out of there. I just didn't want RNG again to sort of end my run. Now you're going to get an anti-barrier and 2 orange bars. This is fine to deal with. I'll show you the angle where you take this anti-barrier champion from. Pretty simple. The orange bars deal arc from range and they can hit you really hard. Just take them out with your Jotunn or whatever you wish. Obviously we just used our super, but by the time you deal with the barrier you'll have a third of your super back, which means you can finish a kill the barrier, which I strongly recommend you do it. Especially if you're using Jotunn like me, then getting finisher kills when you can is only a win. But don't do them, as I said earlier, to the point where you're getting a finisher kill and 5 adds are surrounding you and you're dying because you didn't wait for double dodge. Don't do it like that. The barrier was already weak, so we do one shot and then we do cover from here. See the strafe? You do the strafe just in case he hits you with his solar minigun, right? Because these champions are sort of, they have the highest kill time on guardians in PvE. These champs, the ones with the miniguns. They can melt you in like half a second with sustained fire if you don't have the right resistance on. That's another reason why I went solar, because it defends against those barriers, the minigun ones, because it's solar what they're doing. Okay, so we'll go for the second fuse. I just went invis to see if that would help against rocks. Who knows, maybe. I very much doubt it, but I've done it anyways. Obviously you always get the fuse, the cell at the very end. That's the last thing you do. You don't do that first or whatever and try and invis past all the ads. Obviously you don't. You take it in stages. There's 2 phalanxes at the entrance on this side, so this is the final wing that we're doing. Just take down the 2 phalanxes however you wish, doesn't matter. Finish them if you want. If you've got enough super for that. And then we want to take out the Scorpius turrets. So there's 3, I believe. There's 1 left, 1 right, and then there's 1 in the like top corner. This is another bit of RNG. So there's a VIP target in the room here. Now it can either be a solar shield or a scion. On my loadout, the best VIP would be the solar target, as he's easily killed with Jotunn. The scion will hide. If you get the scion, it's not a problem though. You'll just take the scion at the very end. It's important to know when you take out whatever VIP target you get, whether it be Scion or Solar Shield, you will get ads spawn behind you. So you immediately need to invis and come up to this location, because the ads will flank you. The gladiators will literally ruin your day. So you need to do that. If you want to get a finished kill on gladiators, do it by all means. Just, as I said, don't do it where there's two of them, only one isolate. This is really good. You can actually walk all the way around. It's actually a good area to stand to deal with ads. There was one gladiator left, which I heard the audio cues. I knew there was something going on. So sometimes the gladiators can hide, which I didn't want that to happen. Because you might think everything's fine, and then you start dealing with the barrier, and then a gladiator just comes up from behind you and then wipes you. So I was just double checking all gladiators were killed, which this one wasn't. It's finishable. We'll get a finish kill on him too. As I said, the super, we're not needing the super for anything in this run at all. I can't think of any instance where you actually need the tether. If you don't tether, you might die. The only time maybe at the boss fight it can be a little bit beneficial just tethering the legionaries on a particular phase, but for the most part you don't need to be using your tether. So don't be frightened, as I said, to be spending using the special finisher. The reason why we're on this class is just for the indies. Just that's mainly why we're on it. Take the 2 orange bar first. It's the same as previous. We ended up getting both orange bars. Now we're just looking to prep the shield. He was already weak, so 1 Jotunn done it. Usually I do 2, but I didn't need to because he'd already took some damage. I am taking this champ pretty slow. It also gives you a good idea on what to do with these champs, like to easily take their shield. As you can see, he hit me a little bit, but I strafed. As long as you do the strafe, then do the strafe even if he's not hitting you. Just put it into best practice, and that way you'll 9 times out of 10 you won't die to these barriers. Like I said, just get it in your muscle memory for your hands. That's what you do with these barriers. You do the strafe when that shield's nearly down. Do a strafe and then re-strafe out to complete the shield, and then you'll find it's easy. But obviously always reload your auto, so you can use your Marksman Dodge to do that. Always reload your auto for the next phase, unless you're doing it in one phase. So now we need to play this section really slow, because as I said, the rocks in this room can kill you. There's a bunch of legionaries and there's phalanxes. Now I'm just going to spam Jotunn at this point, because I really want all these ads taken out. Now, Jotunn doesn't work that well on phalanxes, but if you stop them, because as I said, unstoppable shot works on all ads, it will stun the phalanx, then the second Jotunn shot will do the damage. The first shot won't, but the second one will. I don't mind spending the ammo, because I've got ammo everywhere. Okay? So you're getting a curved shot on this legionary, which is good. Here's one shot though. The reason why I'm so critical on taking these ads is because they can nade you because of Scorched Earth, and a nade can have you disengage from a champion, and you may waste a lot of ammo because of it. Say for example, you've put a bit of heavy in, the champion's pretty much dead, and you get a nade at your feet. You must move from the nade. It's as simple as that, because you can't risk it. Because if the nade hits you and the champion somehow ends up hitting you with splash damage, which this champion does that, then you're going to be dead. I wasn't sure how many ads were left, to be honest. Not much. But this last legionary wasn't pushing us. There's a sniper above me as well, which we don't deal with. You don't need to take him. The sniper will basically get bored and be disengaged. So the sniper generally won't attack you unless you really aggro the sniper, because you'll face the sniper when you go to pick up the cell. This legionary is not pushing at all. So what I end up deciding to do is take the champ. But if the champ starts to see you first, disengage. de-aggro the champ by just walking out the room. Because ideally you want to prime him with one shot and then come back in, get your second shot, then go for the shield break. You need to straight behind this box, and then that's how you do this champ. Do it like that every time, this champ isn't so bad. I thought he was a bit of a nightmare at first, and the first couple of runs are done, but once I sort of figured out how to safely do it, it's not too bad. I would recommend taking out the remaining legionaries if you can see them, because you are still ultimately going to have to go over there for the orb. If you have any heavy in here, by all means pick it up, but once you come back, I wouldn't recommend just going for ammo, because there's a chance you might wipe just because you're going for ammo, because you might get hit by a rock. So what I'm saying is spend as least time in that room as possible, and that will reduce the risk of an unlucky death to a rock. I'm watching the room now, right, so I'm hearing the things, I'm seeing the rocks flying around. So there's one right there. See that one there? If that hit us, that's a wipe. It's a really dumb mechanic. But once I've seen a rock do something like that, where it's hit somewhere close to me and stood still, then I'm going to push. I think that's the best time to do that. We get another special finisher kill. There's a bunch of ammo bricks there, but I'm not intending to go back in that room. I don't even care if there's like 20 ammo bricks. I'm not going back in. It's as simple as that. We'll do the fuse, and we're good. So having known that, it means I'm not going to spam much heavy, but I am going to spam Jotunn, of course. So we'll do a smoke grenade for the dogs. There's a wave of dogs first. You will get super back when you get to the final boss. So don't worry about, as I say, using special finishes and things, because you're going to get all that super back when you start the boss fight. Try and leave one dog alive to get a special finisher, so that's even more ammo, because you're going to be spamming a lot, because this barrier can be difficult because of the orange bars. There's orange bar legionaries that sort of do the arc, and they can do a lot of damage to you. So ideally you just want to peek shoot it, right? So go invis, do a Jotunn or two, and then disengage. And always fight from either the left or the right, so you've got cover to your left, so you can always strafe. If you're fighting in dead center of that hallway, you're going to die, so don't do that. Also, if the unstoppable, not the unstoppable, but the barrier, if he starts to lane you with his solar attack, just disengage from it entirely, unless, as I said, you're trying to take his shield. The unstoppable can be used for also a special finisher, so we're going to do just that. I'm going to get him weak, and then we're just going to bait. The unstoppable's really easy to deal with, because he's just going to come to you, which is ideal. He gives us heavy, which is great as well. And now it's kind of a waiting game, because these orange bars will push and not push, right? Eventually they'll get bored and will push you, but sometimes you'll be having times where you're sitting idle. That's fine, but eventually they will push for you. You just need to sort of, if you push to the sort of, there's cover left and right, you can see that them sort of like blast doors, whatever they are, to stand close to them, and the orange bars do end up pushing you. Don't try to break the barrier shield when there's those orange bars up, because the mechanic of these adds, I think it's linked to mob. When a champion is stunned, overloaded, or whatever, as soon as that mechanic happens, all the adds go into aggro mode, and they will aggro you. So knowing that means, essentially on GMs, a lot of GMs, you can't really push champs until you know, everything's dead. But I was happy enough to go from here. Obviously I need to push up just a little bit so I don't get as much range drop off, but we've having cover. Do the strafe always, and I'll finish off with Jotunn. There's no heavy on the floor, so I'm fine with 15 ammo for the boss fight. Even, as I said, if you're in the same position as me and there's some ammo in the other rooms where the rocks are, I would just tell you not to go back there. Right, there's plenty of opportunity to get more heavy at the boss fight, especially if you've got ammo finders on, you're good to go. The last phalanx is still up, so we'll take him. An objective marker comes up for him, I'm not sure why, but it's kind of helpful, because you know which side he's from. could spam Jotunn and then fill up on all your special. Any heavy, if you get it, obviously pick that up. There was a brick there, I just saw it and I didn't pick it up. It was sort of stuck on the elevator, which I'm just watching it back now. I saw, so I could have picked that up, but didn't see it. So just make sure you check the room fully before you step on the elevator. As I was saying, when you start the boss fight itself, when you activate it, you get full super energy. As soon as you start it up though, you want to be sort of run to the back of the room, because he's going to do his soul attack sort of instantly. So prepare yourself when you do it, of course, and then you can go from there. So what's going to happen, as soon as you activate this, the boss is going to do his solar attack, as I was saying. You need to sort of disengage from that and run away. And the best bet is to run to the back of the map. You can do a dodge, which will disengage the solar attack, because top tree invisibility is full invisibility, which means it de-aggroes any attack on you or any enemy indefinitely. Whereas top tree wouldn't do that, so you might, but that's fine, because you could still run in the corridor at the back of the map. We're waiting for the ad spawn. We do a smoke and a grenade. Hopefully that takes them. It didn't, unfortunately. This hallway, if you like, that's what we'll call it, it can obviously go solar. You have to stand very specifically so you don't take any tick damage. The best thing that can happen is the ads de-aggro as well. See, I got super lucky there. I wasn't standing in the right spot. I'll talk more about that as the run goes on. But you need to be standing on the sides, if you like, but in the dead center, right? Not on any other side. Get pushed from an ad behind us, so that's fine. We're going to use a different section, which it looks like to me the hallway is on fire that entire time when ads are up. But as soon as the ads are taken out, there's no fire in the hallway. So this is a good place to stand, as the boss isn't pushing us, so it's great. And if he does do his solar attack, the solar attack will sort of hit the wall in front of you. It won't hit you. But to note, the boss doesn't do his solar attack when the ads are up on this phase. He'll do it the first initial time, then he will stop. He won't do it any longer. Right? That means it's just you and the ads, really, for the most part. So don't stand in the hallway like I did. To be honest, it was a bad strat for this. Stand on the outskirts like I just did there, and that's a far better place. And when you get pushed to the point where there's too many ads, do an invis, go around to the other side, and rinse and repeat. The phalanxes will go to the back of the map though. The legionaries won't push as much. Legionaries will push more than the phalanxes. Take note on your ammo drops, because ammo is so important. Getting special finisher kills when applicable, when possible, do it for sure, but don't put yourself at risk, because the boss can two-shot you. He can get you in the red from one shot, so he could hit you, then legionaries could beam you down and you're dead. So it's so easy to die in this. So this boss has a bug on him. I don't want to say too much, but he's sort of... Basically, Cabal have two crits. They have their head, that is a critical hit, right? It might be a 1.5, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a numbers person. And then the back, because all Cabal have like this yellow back, right, where it has an extra crit. Well, that's a higher multiplier, right? So as you can see, I'm aiming my auto rifle above his head, because this the critical hit is basically above his head. He's got two critical hits. It's bugged, I don't know. If you hit him between I don't know what them wings or whatever they are. If you hit him between there, you get a higher critical multiplier. So don't hit him in the head. Hit him slightly above, and you get more damage. I think it's a 2 times multiplier for his back, the back crit, and then for his head it's a 1.5. I'm assuming it's something like that. I'm not sure. What will happen is when he gets to 10% HP took off his health bar, he'll start to do his solar attack. This is where you can do map rotation or just wait in here. His solar attack will end after 12 or 13 times. It's something like that. That will reset every phase. but after he's done his 13 times on a particular phase, his attack, he'll stop doing it. Which on GM you're going to have that anyways, because you won't be committing to damage, not this season. So the time is going to naturally end before the next phase starts anyways. You just need to know when he stops doing that. I wouldn't recommend you use any Jotunn or any heavy on him on this first phase, because the longer the fight goes on, the more progressively harder it gets. So right now it's not difficult, right? The boss will just stand in the middle, he won't roam around, he's not going to do anything strange like that. So you can, as I say, just take your time with damage. This assault rifle comes out really good because it's got 4 times the charm, which means I can just do a little bit more damage. I mean, it's nothing special, but it just helps out that way. This boss will also go idle and you'll forget where your last position was, which it'll happen more often throughout the run. You saw the hallway was on fire there. That's the first thing you check when you're going through here. But your first jump should always be to the middle of left and right, on the outskirts. Don't jump on the near side, if you know what I mean. Sort of where the solar lines are on the ceilings. Don't go on the outer skirts of them. That's where you get the tick damage. That's where I was going wrong on my previous jumps. So I believe the boss has stopped doing his solo attack, which means we just need to reach a damage gate, get him to a 3rd HP. When we get him to a 3rd HP, there'll be 2 unstoppable champions spawn up. This is where you need all the ammo, because solo 1 phasing an unstoppable champion on these phases is so helpful to you. It's unbelievable. Now, the way this is achieved is with weapons like Telesto, Jotunn, or any sort of fusion, because they can reach the max stacks of particle deconstruction with 1 shot. You then switch to your linear with Vorpal, like I said, with the threaded needle, and you can just about 1 phase a champ, 1 cycle. You'll spend the ammo to get it, of course. It'll be 5 shots, but it's worth it, because then you haven't got 2 unstoppables chasing, you've just got 1, and 2 is a lot more threatening than just 1. You can control 1. 2, on the other hand, it's a little bit more difficult to take. Now you can take either the right unstoppable first or the left. It's up to you, but I prefer the one on the right hand side, because there's just more visibility on that champ. There's nothing in my way, there's no obstacles, so it's really easy that way. Left hand side champ is a bit more difficult just for me, just because as I said, the barrier can be blocked by cover and things like that. You also need to take the unstoppable from a very specific place, because what's going to happen is when that boss goes immune after 1/3 of HP is taken, he's going to do his solo attack automatic. But depending on where you are, depends on how much damage you take from it. If you stand in the exact place which I'm going to show you now, all the solo flare attack, whatever you call it, that will hit the wall above you, meaning that you can just 1 cycle the champion, and you're sort of free for, I would say, a good 20 seconds until the next unstoppable pushes. Just doing our damage. This boss is so tanky. I just suppose that's how he is on the GM. Another thing that you need to know about this boss is when the boss is sitting idle, you need to find a good angle. You can see that the boss is blasting the hill in front of me, right? So that means I can do 3 damage. Now make sure all your weapons are reloaded. This is the place we're going to stand for the unstoppable. I just want to be in position for the unstoppable though, right? So we just need to do a little bit more damage. I should have used Jotunn here, but I didn't really want to. He does get a good shot. His shots are sort of, his shot will change. It won't always hit the same location. It's very subtle, but even if you just stand 1 step to the left or right, his angle of his shot changes slightly. That's why before I wasn't dodge reloading with Marksman Dodge, because once you're just standing still, his shot will just be where it's landing. which is exactly what you want. He's not quite to the damage gate, which was sort of annoying for me, as you can see. Because any time gained for this little bit, when he goes immune, if you can get to that place, the quicker you are there, the better. Right, he's immune there, that's fine. Don't bother about reloads on your auto. Make sure obviously your linear infusions are reloaded. Then you do a Jotunn, and then just 5 shots of linear. But you need to be rapid succession, and all the shots need to be crits to get that one cycle. If you don't one cycle, you're going to have to go invis, and then wait a few seconds and stun him again. You can see he's doing his solo attack, but it didn't hit me because I'm standing in this location here. The second unstoppable pushes, but we overcommit to damage and we miss our last crit. That's fine though. We go invis, and then the work's done at that point. We can get a second stun here. I could have went for a special finisher, but it was just too dangerous for me, so I just decided to kill him. And that's the 2 unstoppables taken out. Now what the boss is going to do is just going to keep doing his solo attack, so we can just sit here and wait. This is what eats the run up. This is why Proving Grounds is so long, because there's 3 phases. For every phase you must wait out his attack. I mean, I feel as though this mechanic should be something that he does on his final stand, where he just keeps spamming at you like Savathun's song. It used to be that he would have an attack where you had to shoot it down. If you didn't, you pretty much wiped to it. Pretty much you could survive it. He only done that on the final phase, and he would cycle it every 30 seconds. He wouldn't be doing it on phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Right? It would just on the very end. This boss just keeps doing it over and over. Right? It's just, they should have added another mechanic to him, another element. So he does his solo attack, that's fine. He can stomp, he can roam, that's fine. Give him some other element other than just doing this solo attack constantly. Because on GM it's a must. You've got to hide from it, right? Unless you're on a team run, you've got to hide from it and wait. He's now became idle, so he's stopped doing it. So now we know we're safe. We're going to get his attention. So this is a strategy of zoning him on to your last location, so then he's preoccupied. He thinks you're below that hill, but you're not, because you pushed up, right? This would work with bottom tree invis as well, I guess. Pretty much the same thing. Wait for your 2 dodges again, get 1 dodge, and then this is your element to sort of do damage. However, he did sort of know that I was there. So sometimes he still can detect you a little bit, which is kind of annoying. So you just have to play the patience game. We're going to let Jotunn do the damage. I'm not going to use my auto because that's sustained damage, and you don't have time to do any sustained damage on these fuses. It's as simple as that. So you're either using your Jotunn or your heavy. It depends on what ammo you've got on the floor, really, because they're both really good. Do 2 shots, and then we'll go invis and then retreat. There's sort of like 3 bits of cover all around the shield. Knowing all the bits of cover is sort of vital, and the timing on your invis. We'll wait for our second dodge, and what I'm going to do is re-aggro the boss at this hill again, which he's aggroed there. That's good. And then we can push up again. There'll be some failed attempts where I don't do any damage and have to retreat, but it's just sort of the cycle of it. You're not going to get it every time where you can do a bit of damage, because sometimes he will just aggro on you, and it's just one of those things. You've got to keep an eye on that boss. He did aggro, but he sort of got confused. I've done 1 Jotunn shot. Don't do 2 unless you're really confident that you can get the second shot off before he hits you. He won't one-shot you, right? He won't, but I'd just rather not take the chance on it. I'd rather not be hit by him at all, okay? Especially if you're 1 hour plus into a run. You know, do you want to risk that, really? You don't. That's why you just do the 1 shot. He's re-aggroed onto my position again, unfortunately. We'll get a shot off here, and then invis anyways. It's just part of the routine. Even if he doesn't turn around it, you just do the invis, because, you know, if you do it like that every time, you shouldn't die to this boss. If he stomps you, you might though. So that's another thing, stomp radius. Try not to be too close. Even if he's aggroed on the opposite side to where you are, if you try and shoot that cell and he's close, he'll do a stomp whether he's looking at you or not. And if he stomps you into a wall, which knockback distance is increased, that's going to be a wipe. And you would hate to see it, so you don't want that either. So we'll go back to our original strat, re-aggro him at the hill. I'm looking at ammo drops as well. I'm not using any heavy because I haven't got much heavy on the floor. And any heavy bricks on the floor are really beneficial at the very end of the fight anyways. So just think of that as ammo for later on. I do the 2 shots because I'm confident in that he jumps over. Just be careful of his attack. When you sit behind cover, you're not entirely safe because of the splash damage. I end up going away from that spot because I don't like standing there, because he can hit you. You can actually take damage when you're sitting there. Like if his blast is at the side of the cover, that's when you're going to get the inconsistencies with damage. You can see the fuse is almost done. I'm just looking at the boss. We don't really need to invis here. Do our last shot. When the cell or the fuse breaks, you need to immediately run to the back of the map. Like it's instant. And obviously invis straight away. We're going to go to the location I showed you before, where we're standing at this sort of hill. The boss can push you from here, but he's not super focused on you. The solar fuse does his solar attack does hit us, but only one of them. So one of them won't one shot. You need multiple. I was just checking to see where all the ads are. They actually de-aggroed, which I was surprised by. They generally don't. Generally, a couple of legionaries will push you here, which they didn't. So if this happens, what you can actually do is just wait for the boss to finish up his solar. That way, because the solar move has reset. So it's going to be another 13 times. So I made best of this. The ads de-aggroed me. I am looking left to right, and I'm keeping a listen to the audio cues for the ads. They're grunting, but none of them's pushing me. You can sort of hear the footsteps coming around, but they're not pushing me. So I made best of it. Rather than trying to fight the ads where the solar attack is, I didn't want that. But you can see the hallway is on fire the whole time. So it's this hallway is linked to ads as well, from what I can see. It's linked to ads because eventually it'll just turn off and it'll go on and off. Like every 30 seconds it'll turn on and then go off. But on this phase it's constantly on. So in other words, they want you to take out the ads before you come back. But we'll make best of it. If you get this on one of the phases, this could happen on phase 1 or this phase, make best of it and just wait in here if that's possible to do. We'll do a tether here. I was hoping there'd be more ads. There wasn't enough, but I mean, we're doing a tether, why not? Any of these lynchers taking them out is a plus, to be honest. Still tethered, so we'll do a fusion shot there. This is where the boss can free roam. So the boss, from phase 1 he wasn't really free roaming. On phase 2 he can free roam on your position. So this is where you really need to keep an eye on where the boss is. What is he doing at all times? Can you see him spamming his attack somewhere? If you can, that's great. But any opportunity you have to take the ads on a side that's free, then you do it. Because ultimately your goal is just to have you and the boss. This GM's not bad when it's just you and the boss. It's when you start adding ads in there and things like that. So we need to find a good angle. This didn't turn out to be a good angle for me. As you can see, he shot me. This is going to be different every time. It's just going to be one of those things where he'll go in free roam mode if you sort of push him, which I do end up doing. Because I was wanting to reset him to move over to another side so I can get another angle. I do end up getting that angle, but it takes ages. I don't know why. It's just sort of how this boss works. Because right now it's perfect, but he's shooting my position. I'm not comfortable with it. You can see the void blast going over the hill. It's just a nightmare. So rather than do damage from there, I get him to reset. And if you're ever in this position where the boss is just hitting you constantly like that, just know that it's 2 shots you're dead. So reposition the boss, and the way to do that is just sort of push out into the middle. As soon as he sees you, he'll then sort of zone in on you and then be in chase mode, and then eventually you'll go idle again, and that's what you want. You want him to go idle, but you want a good spot to do damage from. At the minute I was just thinking what's best thing to do, but as I say, I do eventually reset him so that he moves. It's also a good opportunity to do an ammo run. If you took the ads out like I did, some of them may be in middle, so I'm just looking at what ammo I've got. I've got a lot of special, I'm happy with that. Some heavy, so that's really good. So this is how you reset him. You can drag him over to middle. I wouldn't recommend you fight from here. This is just a reset on him. Reset, and then obviously you need invis past. And then that's him reset. He's in free roam mode, so at this point we're just wanting him to sort of settle into a location. He doesn't. It takes a while for me. But if you do it like this, I know it's a pain, like you're not using your Jotunn much. But if you do it without using that stuff, you get rewarded for that at the very end. Right, because this isn't difficult. You're just trying to find an angle, which I don't end up getting. But eventually you will. It's just a case of analysing the boss. Where's he jumping to? Where's his attack? And if he hits you, that you need to immediately invis and run off. When he starts jumping like that, that's when you're not getting the angles you want. A good way to do that is to not aggro him. Just sort of go on the opposite side and then just leave it for a bit. And then eventually he'll sort of slow down. That's what I've found. Because I'm constantly re-aggroing him here, which isn't doing me any favours. Because he's just continually just chasing. Sometimes he can see you on the opposite side of the hallway like so. Be careful of that as well. That is not a good place to fight because there's no cover, there's no hills, there's no anything. So don't be fighting him from this angle for sure. He shot me, which is fine, we survived. That just shows you the damage one attack does. That was a direct hit though. At least he doesn't one-shot. On Hollow Layer GM you get one-shot, that boss will one-shot. This one won't. So there's a little bit of difference there. This is what slowed up my run a lot, just this particular section. Eventually we do get the part where you will actually just de-aggro. This is what I'm doing, so rather than re-aggro here, wait a second or two, and then now the boss is sitting in idle, you can see. So that's what you need to do, but obviously that's why you would watch a run like this, because then you could learn, right, that's how I de-aggro him, and now you know. All I was doing was just re-aggroing him too often. Leave it 20-30 seconds, just sit in cover, then sort of creep out to the boss, and then he'll be in this sort of mode where he's just sort of constantly spamming you. I found a really good angle because there's a bit of cover right in front of me. I don't move a muscle, I don't move left or right, very barely. I'm not doing Marksman's Dodges because I've already explained it would change your angle, and you, because of Marksman's Dodge, you sort of move too far forward or left or right. It would just get in the way of doing Marksman's Dodge, so don't do it. Just once you post up on an angle, don't move, just fire your gun. Just keep doing that. You can do a bit of linear if you wish. I didn't. I just opted to do the damage with the auto. Because as I said, the later phases are far more important. This is just a damage gate. All you're doing is just doing damage to a third HP, which isn't difficult at all. Pretty much anyone can do once you get your angle. That's all we're doing now. Do your nades when possible, of course. Don't be wasting tethers. You don't need to be doing any of that stuff. It's just literally your damage. can see the building to my right's on fire, so you can't stand on there, unfortunately. You can't do any damage from there. There's pretty much nowhere else to stand when you're doing this fight. Apart from the final phase, when you get onto phase 3, obviously he puts his barrier shield up on that building, but you can rotate from the edge of this map to the other side, where the entrance is. So it's role reversed. We're getting our double crit because we're shooting between his wings. As I said, that's up this week. That's the same if you hit him with a linear, you can get a double crit on him. So when you're doing that, try to aim between the whatever it is that he has on him. I'm sure someone knows, I don't even know what you call it. Just aim above his head and you'll get the times 2 multiplier. It is a bit of a time sink obviously doing this, but as I say, it's a safe way of doing it. Because you're going to need probably, well, there's 2 more unstoppables to take out, so that's 5 linear shots each. So that's 10 minimum. Plus you want some damage at the end. Plus if you want to melt down any yards, you want plenty of Jotunn for ad clear, because you can't be just using your auto rifle, it's far too slow. Unless the ads are far away from you, that's fine, but generally you just need to be on ad clear with your fusions. The same thing we're going to do as we did with the first phase. We're going to chip down his HP to just above a third HP, and then we need to make sure we're in position to melt one of the unstoppables. It's so key. This is even harder than the first time, because what happens is, as soon as he goes immune, he jumps on top of the building, so there's a bit of leeway, there's maybe 10 seconds leeway. As soon as he jumps on top of the building, he does his solo attack. I don't think he does his solo attack straight away. Jumps on top of the building, puts up his shield, then he does the solo attack. So with all that going on, you've got, as I said, about 10 to 15 seconds to melt one of the unstoppables in the corner. There's a corner on right and left, of course. And then immediately go in V's after that unstoppable is killed, because that does 2 things. It allows you to escape. It also detracks the solar attack. It won't track you the same. Okay. So we got him immune. Or at least I thought I did. No, it's too soon yet. Didn't quite yet. He was still just above 3rd HP. So what my idea was is to use a grenade and then go into a position of cover to sort of give me more time to melt this unstoppable and to avoid the solar attack, because you'll be doing damage from cover, he won't know where you are. It just makes it a little bit more consistent, rather than just sort of melting him with a Jotunn here and then sort of running, because there's that run time. You're going to run there, then you're going to turn around, get a stun, and by the time you've done that, if at least 2 seekers hit you, you're dead. So what I was trying to do is do a nade and then come back to cover, but it wasn't quite enough damage. I'm looking to see if there's immune, but I thought, yeah, this would be a good idea. So I was testing out this strat on the run. So I thought, okay, so I'll weigh out another grenade, and then we'll go again. I'll come back to this part of cover, and then we'll stun the unstoppable. See, if I'd done damage with my guns here, I would have to turn around, go into the corner, get my weapon ready with Jotunn. That's all time. It's like, we're talking seconds, but those seconds count for when it's something like this. It's so specific. I was also checking the angle. That's why I don't like left side, because of that cover. It's in the way. So do another nade. Hopefully he goes immune. He does. There's audio cues to tell you that. Right, we're just waiting on the door to open. Door opens, the boss does his solar attack. We didn't get a stun because of that cover. So annoying. I would have done the other side, but it was a bit more awkward. And then we get the cycle, the 1 cycle on the champ, like so. So even though I screwed up, I still got it. Because I stood where I stood, the solar attack couldn't hit us. Obviously then we go immediately in V's and then back to the start of the map. The reason why you stand here is because the solar attack has range drop off. It won't hit you from here. which means you're semi-safe. You're not entirely safe because his Void Blast attack can hit you from here. So what you need to do is stand next to the cover that you have available. So there's 4 little bits of cover, and use them. I know they're only small, but they are still useful. And then the final unstoppable will push. He's very easy to deal with because he's on his own. And that's the 2 unstoppables dealt with, and that's that bit, you know, sealed. Now you just again have to wait for this solo attack, unfortunately. It's just the nature of it. I don't know who designed these GMs and you know, who fought, and I think they've done a good job overall. I'll just give you some thoughts on it. But I've been playing the solo Nightfalls and things like that since day one, right? So the first Nightfall solo I done, if you're interested to know, was Undying Mind, and I soloed it to get Hawkmoon. So I remember that day because I soloed it and I got Hawkmoon. And I used cheeses and I used everything in the book that you could, because I don't play first-person shooters. I'm somebody who liked other games. I don't like Call of Duty. I don't like any of that stuff. But I like Destiny because, I don't know, there's sort of unique traits with it. But anyways, Nightfalls, the identity of them has changed. And I suppose it needed to because, you know, Destiny 1 came out in 2014. You know, we're 2021 now. It's almost 2022. It's been a long time, right? So things are going to change, but the average solo completion, right, of a day 1 Nightfall, I would say, on like an educated guess, would be 30 minutes. Some would take way longer, some would take a lot less, but for the most part, it's like 30 minutes. The average completion of a GM now, the harder ones, I'm not talking about the easy ones like League of Shadows, like a solo one, the average completion for most average players is like 50 minutes to an hour. So what are we playing? What is this? Is this a dungeon? It's not a dungeon. It's Strike. So they've changed the identity of GMs. The 2 of Strikes, they're too long. But they're like this because there's like 25 champions in one Strike. They're not designed to be soloed. When Bungie designed GMs, they're like, right, we want to give the fire teams the hardest challenge. But the problem is, you can go in there solo, so there's always going to be some guy's going to say, I want to solo this. And if you're making content and you do PvE, well, they're going to say, well, why aren't you soloing it? XYZ soloing it. He done it with no guns. He done it with blue gear. And this is where you get your competitiveness, which I don't mind that I'm a competitive person if you haven't worked that out. But what I'm saying is it's kind of like absurd for content creators, right? Especially if you're doing something very niche like this, where you've got to spend an hour to 2 hours practice on one activity. I like the challenge of it, but sometimes it's a little bit, they ship them too difficult. Proving Grounds, I mean, people won't tell you that. Some people will say, oh no, it was easy for me. They've shipped it too difficult because they know people solo stuff. They said so in the TWAB. Said, oh, check out people who solo GMs. So they know they do. But who's playtesting this stuff at Bungie? Who's saying, right, let's playtest what GM looks like in a solo perspective? Now, they must be playtesting them because they made Infinite Prime Ammo. And that was one of the reasons why, because solo GM before Infinite Prime Ammo was terrible. Okay, it was so inconsistent. Oh, I haven't got enough scout ammo. That's it. That's the run over. I have to restart. It's like they've got to be playtesting them. So who at Bungie said, right, this is good, we'll ship this. You know, the tank room. You know, you close us in a room. This is Strike design for you. You close us in a room. Hunter becomes naturally the best choice because it's invisibility. You close in a room, they nerf Nightstalker, okay, Warlock's the best because we get a Healing Rift. So this is what I'm saying about Strike designs. They need to be bigger. The maps need to be way bigger, like what a planet is during patrol. We need to have bigger zones. Boss rooms need to be bigger. There need to be more variations. These small rooms don't work. Glassware is a good example. I know Glassware is super tough solo GM, but it's a well-designed boss fight. Okay, I'm into that. Fair enough. There isn't too many places to stand, which is one of my pet peeves with it, but overall it's good design. This is bad design, the whole boss room. There's nowhere to stand really. I mean, there is, obviously I've showed you the locations, but obviously that's very niche. The average player's not going to say, oh, I stand in this corner, this will be fine, right? Who's going to work that out? There needs to be always a plan B. When they're designing a strike, it's like, plan A is, this boss is going to do one mechanic to you. But if you optimize and a little bit efficient, here's a plan B option. There's no plan B. In half of these encounters, in Proving Grounds. There's no plan Bs. And this is my problem with GMs. But the problem is, we all watch the solo GMs, and we all, you know, congratulate who's got them, and it's a good thing who does them. But we're not looking at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is this. Just bear in mind, this is what you're going to have to play for the next 2 or 3 years. GMs in the current where they are now, right? People want to farm stuff, and you know, you put double loot on strikes like this. No one wants to farm it so much. I know there's teams out there that do want to farm it, but how many teams, like out of how many teams, want to actually do it? Only the absolute top 1% players want to do it. And the Destiny players aren't made of 1%. Okay, there's all sorts of different players. Players who go to work, players who do this, players who do that. That have got other things going on. It's not just for streamers, it's not just for content creators, it's for a whole host of people. Okay, so that's my take on GMs. However, I've had a lot of sort of support from doing the GMs, so it's benefited me overall. But I'm just telling you about the bigger picture, how there needs to be some sort of fundamental change with GMs, because we've got archetype weapons that are useless. Sidearms are useless in GMs. SMGs are useless. Swords are almost useless. I mean, Lament's kind of usable, because everything one-shots, the melee damage off enemies is too high, right? So making all the adds one-shot you or nearly one-shot you isn't always the best choice of difficulty. There needs to be something else added. Burns for me, because that give you the knowledge, you see. If you add arc burn on, right, but not just for the enemy, but for you. Right, so it would be a double-edged sword. We don't have that now. It's just for the enemies, right? Okay, so they're buffed with arc, but I don't get it. You see, that's where I think they need to go back to Prism, where it's rotated by his Solar Void and arc. And yeah, that resulted in one phase on bosses and all that stuff. But it was a fun modifier. Once you get the shield break, you want to invis and go below. I do a tether here as well. Right? And you just really want to sort of play as defensively as possible, because a lot of these ads can push you as end your day, like so. And he's doing his solo attack, which he does once the shield is broken. Some of the ads are pushed to the outskirts, which isn't the worst thing. I timed the dodge there just for the solo attack, just before it would hit me, so that I would detrack that. So the key to this class is knowing when to invis and when not to. See, I think this is a more skillful class as opposed to bottom tree, because bottom tree is just kind of mindlessly smoke dodge, whereas I believe this tree, you've got to time your dodges a bit better. The invisibility is better, don't get me wrong. Ads do actually detrack you. They don't know where you exactly are at times. So there is a lot of pros to top tree, but with bottom tree, as I said, you're going to get a longer invisibility, and it is going to be a little bit easier for these phases. But the pros to Nightstalker top tree outweigh for me, because you can go invis when you're near no ads. For the tank room, it's certainly better, because you can just go from left to right, and you don't need to go in middle for any gambler dodges to get your smoke back, because you're on top tree Nightstalker. You don't need to. It's just tied to your class ability. That's all you're doing. The boss hit me from the other side of the map. That's fine, as long as we're aware of it. And he was on the other side, and he can't hit us again, so that's okay. Now I believe it's just us and the boss. So this is pretty much done deal. If you wipe and when it's just you and the boss, it is your fault. If he stomps you, it is your fault. Unless he teleports on you. I have saw this boss teleport a couple of times, which isn't ideal. So that can potentially happen to you, and if it does, then that's something that shouldn't be happening, especially if you know trying to solo it and you're over an hour. That's unacceptable in my eyes. But for the most part, this boss didn't really teleport with me so much. On this phase though, this is where our ammo comes in. I haven't used ammo on phase 1 or phase 2 for damage, so I was rewarded by that. So now I can just rotate, use Jotunn, use linear, because because I'm not waiting for the boss to sit idle. I just want to sort of melt him down and be on with it and be dealt with the solo, because there's no more adds that spawn. It's just that first wave, which is why another thing, we like ad density in the game, right? People like Battlegrounds. They said, oh, the ad density is great. The reason why there's not many ads in this is because it's balanced around the boss room. So that's another reason why I'm saying it's bad strike design, because if you ship tons of ads in this room, it's a nightmare. So they only ship you 3, 6 Legionnaires, a Phalanx or 2. So it's plainly obvious. The ads are balanced around the room. Why is not the room bigger? Why have they shipped the room so small? Like, this is meant to be the boss final room. It's one little room with a hallway with solar there. It's badly designed. Armsdale is one of the best designed strikes, and it was the original for D2. The reason why I say that is because there's so much variation that can happen. The boss can go here, there, and ever. And I know Armsdale is notorious for being easy, but that's because he's got no damage gates. Right, that's why he's easy. If they give him damage gates, which I don't really like, but Bungie like damage gates, if they give him that, that would make Armsdale one of the best strikes. It is now. Let's think about it. This is basically Armsdale. It's got a phase where you're fighting 2 tanks. Armsdale has that, okay, and it's got a boss that's similar. Free roams, stomps you, and has similar sort of attacks. Apart from the solar attack, he has a sniper, and he puts a shield up. But the difference is with the shield, it's just a mini one, and he's up on a tower, and you put a fuse in. So this is basically Armsdale. It's just a reworked Armsdale. That's all this is. It's a worse version of it. And Armsdale is how many years old now? It's 4 years old, and we're playing a worse version of Armsdale. So as I said, going forward, they need to make the boss arenas bigger. They have to go bigger with it. Look at the bigger picture. I know, yeah, you know, people are like, oh, but I can so, yeah, but look at the bigger picture. In Witch Queen, you're going to have strikes like this, where you're just closed in. So we're playing close quarters. You don't want every strike to be close quarters. You want some of them to be like a Darkblade Helm on D1, right? That was all dark. That was interesting. You know, you could run away from the boss. There wasn't much place to stand, yes, but it was interesting. That was themed. This has no theme. It's just Cabal. So why are we stuck in one room? It doesn't make sense to me, and that's what encourages cheeses. That's why when it first came out, people cheesed it. They stood on the roof, used Skyburners off, and got an easy clear because there's nowhere to stand. As I said, there should always be a plan B where when they design a room, it's like, right, this room's kind of difficult. You're going to get a bunch of ads. They're going to make it ad dense. Like Hallelujah, that boss room is really well designed because there's enough room for a lot of ads to spawn in. People enjoy Hallelujah. I enjoyed that GM. I found that to be the hardest solo GM like that I've done personally. Harder than this, but this is just more RNG with the rocks and things like that, and knowing the positioning. But anyways, that was the solo GM for the Proving Grounds. We're just about to finish him. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.